Hi there, my name is Spencer and I work with Xima Software. Today's video is going to talk about Netsapiens and how it relates to Xima CCaaS. The first step is going to be creating an API user within Netsapiens. From there, we're going to go to target platform configuration settings within CCaaS itself. We're going to then create a client ID and client secret. Provisioning contact center extension within CCaaS to take contact center calls. Pulling users from Netsapiens via the Netsapiens API. And then lastly, pointing that Netsapiens DID, DDI, towards the contact center itself. Let's jump right in. So the first step is going to be to create an API user within Netsapiens. This API user will serve both as the API user, like I said, and as the extension in which we will receive calls for contact center with. Okay, it's cleaner to do it this way. You can do two separate extensions, one for the API and one for the SIP extension that we're going to utilize. But in this case, I find it to be a little bit cleaner just to have a single extension or user login for a specific purpose, in this case, Xima CCaaS. Okay, so under users, configuration, go down here to add user. It's going to have a list of domains, in this case, Xima. I'm going to make this 1501 as my username. It's the extension, in essence, what I'm using. I'm going to label this as Xima virtual extension. 1501 as Xima. So serve as the login as well as the extension, easy to remember. I'm going to put my email address here. And then a voicemail is required. I'll do 100-106. Okay. Now, typically I wouldn't suggest such a weak password. In this case, I'm just going to write password. But since this is going to be deleted after this video goes live anyway, I'm not overly concerned about the password in this case. All right, moving down here. Notice that by default, call limit is unlimited. That's perfect. That's how it should be. So if you are a reseller that wants to utilize a limit on this, that is feasibly a possibility. We suggest unlimited in our documentation simply because we are handling XYZ number of calls to queue for contact center. If this is limited, of course, it's going to limit us as contact center. So by default, I keep that as unlimited and go from there. Next step down here is going to, of course, be the scope. So this is going to serve as an API user. And in order to pull the API information across, in this case, the users from Netsapiens, you need to have a call center supervisor at a minimum to have that permission. Okay, I set a super user just for precautionary purposes. It doesn't really matter per se, as long as you have contact center supervisor as a minimum for that permission. I'm going to click create. This page is fine. Go ahead and just click create user device. Okay, and there you have it. So 1501 should now exist right here on the Netsapiens portal. Perfect. We have unlimited set for the call limit. We're looking good there. No problem. All right, next step. What we have to do is go ahead and look at the CCaaS portal. Let me show you a couple of the fields that we have here. The very bottom of your screen, first thing you might notice is the error message. This is just simply saying, hey, you're not connected to anything. We're not registered. We're not APIing. We're not doing anything. Okay, that is to be expected if you log into your environment and you see this. Okay, now in this case, let's jump into target platform configuration and notice a few of the fields here. Domain, SIP proxy, server host. The proxy port is filled out for you by default. 5060 is pretty typical, but that will vary depending upon your environment. API URL, client ID, client secret, admin username, and admin password. All that stuff needs to be filled out in order for us to pull users across from Netsapiens. And we'll show you that right now, at least part of it, and we'll get into the other part later. If you sign into the regular portal, you should now have 1501 as your extension. Domains, Xima, that's the domain in which my extension exists. So go to users, 1501 should pop up. Xima virtual extension, perfect. Click this, go to phones, little pencil here, and now we have an option to see all the information in which we're asking for. In this case, we have the domain, which is Xima, outbound proxy. Those two things need to be filled out accordingly. So let's do that real quick. So Xima, lowercase Xima, SIP proxy host, copy that exactly how it appears right here. Okay, there's no HTTPS, there's no slash at the end, exactly as it appears on the provisioning tab. Just like that. It is port at 5060. If you notice here, it says 5060. I'm not overly concerned about the password right now, as I'll delete this extension before the video goes live, but we'll come back to username and password here in just a moment. Okay. Now in this case, API URL, what is that one? What does that mean? Well, that's going to be the pretty much login for the Netsapiens portal. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste that over. Just like that. Without the slash, by the way. Take the slash out. Client ID, client secret, admin username. We know that much. Let's do this. 1501 at Xima, which is the domain, and then my password, which is super secure, is just password. Okay, now we're missing a couple things here. Client ID, client secret. Where do I find those? How do I make those? Well, jump back with me to the admin portal right here. Go up to the top where it says System, Settings, Advanced, OAuth Clients. Okay, in this case, I'm going to add, very bottom, I'll label this API just as training. Okay, and click Create. Go back to it. Super simple. Notice that the API client secret is here. I'll copy and paste that over to right here, secret, and then of course the client ID is training. There it is. That's that simple. That's the API request we're going to send after I click Save. Click OK. Excellent. And as I did mention, I did allude to the fact that we're going to use the same extension to register as our handset, right? So go next page down, Manage SIP extension, click Add, SIP extension, and SIP password. Told you to keep this in mind, right? So go back to the regular portal, down here at 1501, and of course the password. Copy this over, and 1501 is that. I will click Save. And it's going to say, hey, do you want to restart the primary and helper nodes? Yes, that's fine. That's to be expected. It's going to take a second to register. So until that point in time, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I will be right back with you in just one moment. And we're back. Notice that it does say 1501 is in fact registered. Perfect. Excellent. Let's see if the next step worked. Remember the API down here. Also notice at the very bottom, we don't have that flashing error message anymore, which means we are connected, at least for a SIP extension. Now, from the standpoint of the next step is going to be our Java UI. Okay, the Java UI is where we do a lot of the administration stuff. So similar to what we have in Netsapiens for an admin portal and regular portal, we have something very similar in Xima CCaaS. Now, as a reminder to find this, take this URL that you've been provided for your tenant. Go ahead and click Enter without the /web. It puts you into this page where you can download the Xima CCaaS desktop, just right there. Or using Internet Explorer, you can go right here, Internet Explorer, and then paste it here as well. And this will allow you to get in there and look at it from the web perspective. Okay, this is a Java application, so that's why it's asking for Internet Explorer and or the application that has package Java, which is right here. However you want to do that, the login is exactly the same username and password as it is for the web HTML version. So once that's all said and done, you can come over here to user licenses and notice that I pulled over all of my users. Perfect. So all of the users that exist within my environment are pulled across automatically with the API user that we created. So just license them accordingly with voice or chat and go from there. So that is it. So setting up an API user, setting up a SIP extension. The last thing that remains is going to be to point a DID to that extension to handle calls for contact center. Okay, and follow me over here to the next step. Notice that says registered. It's in the green. But next step here, inventory. We have all of these different DIDs. All I got to do here is go to user. I'm using 1501 as a Xima virtual extension and click save, and you're good to go. Now, if you want to route these dynamically based upon a specific caller ID prefix, you do that here as well. There's another video for that if you want to learn more in regards to that. But that is it in regards to setting up extension for Xima CCaaS, as well as an API to pull users across from Netsapiens. Thanks for watching. See you next time.